Okie dokie, we now have a quorum. We will begin with an invocation led by School Board Member Darius Landis and a Pledge of Allegiance led by School Board President David Tapman.
That you give us the productivity to work together and do what needs to be done on behalf of all the people of this great city. In Jesus' name that I pray, amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I'll call this meeting to order. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
District 9, President Tapman.
Present.
District 4, Vice President Collins.
Present.
District 1, Mr. Blue.
Here.
District 2, Mr. Lannis.
Here.
District 3, Mr. Howard. District 5, Ms. Ware Jackson. District 6, Ms. Dyson.
Present.
District 7, Mr. Gode.
Here.
District 8, Ms. Bernard.
We now move forward with item B1, updates from the superintendent.
Thank you so much, Madam Vice President. Madam Vice President, before I start, I'd like to make a request to remove one item from the agenda tonight.
Okay.
And we just wanted to make sure that, 1 second. Yes. The item number is item number 7, property casualty insurance RFP selection.
Do I hear any objections from board members? All right, seeing no objection, the item is removed.
Thank you so much, Madam Vice President. Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
A little bit out of breath today. We're so excited that we are in December. There's been some great work happening in our school system, and also we first wanted to say happy holidays to everybody as we get into the holiday season. And also we're super excited about all of the contribution this community has been giving to our young people in our school system. Our human resources department is actually will be hosting another Connecting to Succeed hiring event on Wednesday, December 7th from 4 to 6 p.m. The event will be held at the Instructional Resource Center on 1022 South Foster Drive, which is right next door. We're looking for candidates in all areas to fill vacancies for the second semester. Our alternative program departments has teamed up with Barnes & Nobles at City Place for a holiday book drive. We encourage everyone to visit the City Place Barnes & Noble location now through December 9th to purchase a book that will be donated to EBR students who are in alternative programming. The price range will be from $5 to $15 per book. As a reminder, our next round of stipends will be on December 13th to all eligible employees, which will be roughly 5,900 employees. This is the $3,000 stipend, and that $3,000 stipend is not eligible to those who receive the $7,500 sign-on bonus to employees classified as AD 101 and 105. I thank the board for approving that when we did. The other announcement we have is we're excited to announce that our athletic department will be hosting an inaugural Red Stick Basketball Invitational Tournament from December 19th to December 21 at 4 sites in Baton Rouge. We're thrilled to host some of the top basketball programs throughout the state of Louisiana and a team from Georgia. Stay tuned to our website, ebrschools.org, for details on tickets and tournament schedules. And last but not least, this has been a great year for this effort. All 3 local TV stations have done segments on the program this week for Adopt Enough campaign, and the response has been incredible. We've raised over $6,000 in donations and are still accepting monetary donations to assist with purchasing gifts. We'll be distributing gifts to students at the Santa Social on December 14th and 15th. And although I know we're still waiting to continue to get more, but we've already, our number has exceeded from where we've been. So I just wanted to give our community a hand. If we can just give a hand, how generous our community has been this holiday. As we always say, it takes a village to do this work. And the great thing about our city is we come together for many families and students. And Madam Vice President, that is my report.
Thank you kindly. And before we move on to items for consideration, I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege and make my last announcements of books of the month. For December, we have All About Love with Sister Bell Hooks. People hear me say love, love, love all the time, acting love. And I love that this book talks about love not as just a mushy gushy feeling, but also includes accountability, and that's what it's all about. All right, and then Jennifer Lewis, the mother of Black Hollywood. What I love about this and why I'm recommended it is because this sister suffers from bipolar disorder, and she had a couple of addiction issues. And to lift up mental health, etc., I love that what she discusses in this particular book is how she was not able to grapple with her struggles until she accepted her diagnosis and got a treatment for it and things of that nature. So powerful book. And then last but not least, Revolutionary Approach to Success, Give and Take by Adam Grant. Love Adam Grant. And this one, in a nutshell, is very similar. It talks about, he's an economist, and so he talks about things with statistical impact, but he makes it very relevant and practical to real life living. And he talks about how some of the most powerful leaders lead from relationship. And again, accountability, love, understanding. I'm paraphrasing, but it's all in that gumbo. And so those are my final book recommendations as Madam Vice President of East Baton Rouge Parish School Board. And that concludes my moment of special privilege. And now for item C1, the naming of the Tara High School softball field. Okay, that's no problem. The recommended action is consideration of a request to name the Tara High School softball field the Barry Jackson Field. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
First by President Tapman and seconded by Board Member Lannis. And seeing no request to speak from the board. No, presentation, huh? No? Oh, okay. All right. So seeing no request to speak from the board, public comment.
Good evening, board. My name is Stacy Bradford, the proud executive director of Tara High School. And at this time, I want to introduce 2 special young men, the principal of Tara High School, John Heyman, and Dean Barry Jackson.
Good evening, board members. Good evening, Dr. Narcisse. I just want to thank y'all so much for allowing this item before the board. Coach Barry Jackson has been a fixture at Tara High School. He's been a teacher, an AD, a dean of students throughout his tenure, but his main contributions to the school have been athletics. He's coached basically everything at the school, but he's going on 25 years as a softball coach. The program died in 1997, And in 1998, he kind of resurrected it and has been the head coach every year since. So today the program's thriving and his students perform well both on and off the field. His greatest achievement is he's never coached a student that failed to graduate. So he's really touched the lives of thousands of students, hundreds of coworkers, and I can't think of anyone better to honor than Coach Barry Jackson. Thank you.
Coach, did you have a few words you want to accept the honor of the recommended action?
Well, yeah, I definitely accept. It's really kind of taking me back and taking me by surprise. In fact, and I'm just humbled just for the opportunity the Lord has allowed me to make an impact and do a part of what he desired to do here upon the earth in the lives of young people. And as he said, that's my greatest accomplishment, and just knowing that I'm doing his work. I really like to thank Mr. Drake, who had just took a chance on someone who never coached at the high school level or taught at the high school level. And Mr. David Masterson, who was the AD at the time, gave me an opportunity to coach softball, which I'd never coached at that time. And so here we are years later and just have so much to be thankful for. I thank my wife, who just walked in, who at the end, your life just kind of is about the school to a certain degree, and for her just humbling herself to support me in my calling. And I thank you, of course, the board, for approving. So God bless you guys. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for your service. That's what it's all about. All right, seeing no other public comment, then back to the board colleague Jill Dyson.
I just want to thank you for being there and mentoring our students the way that you have. It's so important to reach these students, and very much appreciated. Thank you. Job well done.
All right, and Superintendent Narcisse.
So just wanted to say this, Coach, the board will officially vote at the next meeting. So we probably will clap again. So we'll wait till that time to recognize you again in that space. So just wanted the public to be able to know that. And nice job.
Thank you. And seeing no other requests to speak from the board, Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Please vote.
Oh, geez. I'm sorry. No, I'm not talking about you. Madam Secretary, you might have to just go ahead on and call the roll. Yes, ma'am.
District 1, Mr. Blue.
Yes.
District 2, Mr. Landis.
Yay.
District 4, Vice President Collins.
Yay.
District 5, Ms. Ware Jackson.
Yes.
District 6, Ms. Dyson.
Yes.
District 7, Mr. Gode.
Yes.
District 9, President Tapman.
Yes.
Carries.
Amazing. All right, moving forward with item C2, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation recommended action, consideration of a request for the approval of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation's research and development partnerships for the Math Equity Grant in the amount of $3.5 rounding up $1 million to provide K through 8th grade research partnership with the Dreambox Learning and LSU Social Research and Evaluation Center to increase student math performance and related matters. Can I get a motion? Board Member Gode and Board Member Ware Jackson. Seeing no request to speak from the board, public comment. Seeing no public comment, back to the board. Board colleague Gode.
Yes, thank you, Madam Vice President. I just wanted to make sure this didn't pass, excuse me, without being highlighted. What an honor this is to our district and to our staff and to LSU, who has cooperated with us. This was a grant that was proposed by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It was a competitive grant, and I think there were 17 or 18 school districts around the country that applied for this grant, and 2 were selected, East Baton Rouge Parish and New York City. And so it is a very big honor, and it is the kind of thing that we're starting to get notice in our district around the nation about what kind of innovative programs we're doing. And, it's amazing how once you get the ball rolling, it seems like things just keep coming to you as you work hard to make those things happen. So I just want to congratulate the staff for putting together the grant proposal. These are not easy things to do, but I just also wanted to highlight that EBR is moving in a great direction. Thank you.
All right. Board colleague Jill Dyson.
Yes, I would just like to say that this is the kind of outside, out of state money that is working towards bettering our system. So thank you so much.
Seeing no other requests to speak from the board, Madam Secretary.
Please vote. We're going to do a roll call if that's okay, Madam Vice President. We're having some technical difficulties.
Ma'am.
District 1, Mr. Blue.
Yes.
District 2, Mr. Lannis.
Yay.
District 3, Mr. Howard.
Yes.
District 4, Vice President Collins.
Yay.
District 5, Ms. Ware Jackson.
Yes.
District 6, Ms. Dyson.
Yes.
District 7, Mr. Gode.
Yes, 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 yes.
Got it. District 9, President Tapman.
Yes, and in true Louisiana form, he voted 4 times. No, I'm just kidding.
The motion carries.
It's working now.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So now moving forward with item C3, mid-year sign-on bonus. Recommended action is consideration of a request for the approval of a $2,000 mid-year sign-on bonus for teachers hired on January 2023. Board President Tapman and seconded by, Board colleague Dyson. Seeing no request to speak from the board, any public comment? Yes, by Storm Matthews wishing to speak.
The heels. Okay, there we go. There is a group of teachers that were hired from October 1st and that may be hired through December 31st that were not eligible for the 7,500 and will not be eligible for the 3,000 that we're getting on December 13th. For those people who keep messaging, saying that we're not, yes, we are still getting that. So those people fell through the cracks and aren't eligible for either of those. So if it is possible with this new blitz that's going on for the 2,000, maybe we can consider those people as well, because they are here. And if they stay till May, following the same requirements as this group that is hired in the month of January, I think that it would be fair to give it to those individuals that were hired from October 1st through December 31st as well.
Seeing no other public comment, back to the board, Board President Tapman.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I just asked the superintendent kind of take a look at that so that we can make any, if there was an adjustment, we could make it. If there was one, we would make it there.
We could do that.
And board colleague Gode.
I'm sorry, I missed the conversation. We're making an adjustment.
Not now. I was just suggesting we take a look at it.
Okay. Is Miss Hall here?
She's right there in the front,
Oh.
front chair.
Yes.
Ms.
Hey,
Hall?
could you just address that issue? Because I thought we had a signing bonus for people who signed on at the beginning of the year, and did that carry through, or is that correct that we have a gap?
That is correct. I'm a stickler for black and white, so I try to stay within the parameters. So the parameters were if you were hired up until October 1st, then you were not eligible to receive
Okay.
the $3,000 bonus.
Okay. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
you're welcome.
And board colleague Dyson.
I agree that I'd like to take a look at the dollars that it would take to do that October one to, and not include them as long as they meet all the other requirements. So if we could, would we?
You want more information between now and the next board meeting?
I think I'd like more information to see where we are on that and if that's possible.
Okay.
That would be helpful. Thank you.
All right, and board colleague Lannis.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I just want to use this opportunity to lift something up because, we always hear a lot about ESSER funding, the way that the district is spending money. And that was an interesting article that I read about 2 weeks ago, and it was through the New York Times, and it was talking about school districts around America are burning through $5 billion a month because they have to offload ESSER dollars. And when you ask yourselves, how are we putting our best foot forward? We have used ESSER dollars to prop up our teachers. That is something to be proud of. That's something that we should look forward to, and that's something that we should move forward to as we continue before that deadline comes up in a few years to continue putting our teachers first, putting our students first, and putting our school district first. So I just want to lift that up.
Oh, shoot. I should have put my name in the queue. And board colleague Ware Jackson. Let me put my name.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Yeah, I agree. This is a good way to spend ESSER dollars. I know there's a list of items that were recommended for use for ESSER dollars, and this is just definitely one of them. We have spent some ESSER dollars in areas that were a little bit questionable, but this one definitely falls in line, and we certainly want to use these funds in that way. Thank you.
I just want to chime in and say I agree, especially when we know our FTE counts don't happen until October, and then there are staffing changes on different campuses, and so I'm sure a lot of new hires result from that. And I do agree. I'm glad that we used finally these ESSER dollars for incentives on staff retention and recruitment after many asks, and first being told that it was not possible, and then learning that the U.S. Department of Education said, absolutely, please do it. I'm glad that we took the ball and ran with it once we received that notice. All right. And board colleague Gode.
Yes, thank you. Just for a matter of procedure, would it be appropriate to just have a substitute motion to defer without recommendation to the next meeting? I mean, to the regular meeting, so that we can bring this up and get it cleared up?
Or I'd take it as a friendly amendment, whatever you.
A friendly amendment's fine.
You good with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Friendly amendment to defer without.
To pass without.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. To pass without. To send is the better. All right. Okay. And we're going to have to go back and forth on that. The nature, Do we have to go back and forth again on that? Okay. And so, Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
Moving forward with item C4, part-time bus operator pay increase. Recommended action, consideration of a request for the approval to increase the part-time bus operator rate from $10.50 per hour to $13.29 per hour to create recruitment opportunities for internal and external candidates to fill 62 bus operator vacancies. All right, first by Board Colleague Dyerson and seconded by Board Colleague Ballou. All right, and seeing Board Colleague Ware Jackson.
Just a quick question. About how many do we have now, part-time bus operators?
If I could get our Chief Operating Officer, Ms. Monique Scott Spalding, could you please go on?
Evening, everyone. Currently, we do not have any part-time bus operators.
Just wondered, because I know we normally would use the same ones, like whoever ran a morning shift might want to do a field trip or something during the middle of the day and then get back in time to do their second route.
It's our practice.
And so now we're seeing that. What sparked the interest? I'm just curious in getting part-time bus operators, because we've got have we suffered a big loss in full-time bus operators? Is that what drives us to recruit more part-time?
We're budgeted for 400 bus operators, and currently I think it's 350 that we have on the rolls. We're working through 10-day absenteeism and job abandonment, but daily there's about 320 operators that are on the road because of call-outs, appointments, illnesses, and what have you.
Yeah, I knew there was a shortage all around the country, so yeah. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
All righty. And Board President Chapman.
It is a big problem. Thank you for talking about that. I was on jury duty this week, and it is now, probably shouldn't say this, it's an excuse for jury duty. If you are a school bus driver, they're releasing you from jury duty. So that's how bad it is. I just wanted to make that point. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. And now public comment from Storm Matthews representing herself.
I like that last little tidbit, Don. I am all for a raise, 100%. When you read the memo, though, the little tidbit that I've not heard discussed here is this is to bring CNP, that's child nutrition workers, in to be the part-time bus drivers. Okay, so when I've talked to the child nutrition workers and I've talked to the bus drivers about this, the logistics is a little bit of an issue. Our full-time CNP people won't be able to do it because they work the same hours. If you are cooking for children at a school, you're there by 6 o'clock. Bus routes are already being run at that time. You don't get off until 1:30. When you're doing field trips and stuff like that, you have to be finished by 1 o'clock because you have to be on your bus by 1 to get to the middle or the high school that you are driving for, to be in line and be parked, etc., for your pickup. And then you do your elementaries later. Now, if you are a sub worker for a cafeteria, which we do have some of, then it would be possible because they don't do it. And these people would only be able to do no more than 80 hours a week is what they were told at the informational. However, what is even more of an issue for me, and what Ms. Scott Spalding said is absolutely 100% true. We are short on drivers, and we constantly have job abandonment. If you look at those personnel changes that are always posted every month, you see them time after time after time with job abandonment. It's pay. And according to, I do not have any, haven't done any public record requests on this, but according to what they have reported to me, the bus drivers, they are 3 steps behind, dating back to when Jindal was in office. They've told me that they're 3 steps behind in their pay. So yes, let's do a raise, but why don't we do a raise for our full-time bus drivers? And then maybe we can actually get them to stay and we stop having so much job abandonment. Can we look at getting a raise for our full-time bus drivers?
Seeing no other public comment, back to the board. Okay, board colleague Ware Jackson.
Thank you. And I appreciate Ms. Matthews bringing that up. I remember seeing that and wondered, because I'd heard somewhere that it was like 1:15 they had to be in a certain place, and she just said 1 o'clock or 1:30. So I wondered how the logistics would work out with that. If we're looking at people that are already on the job, working in the cafeteria, and then leaving to go to do a bus route. Is this something that's going to be worked out further a little later? Because it doesn't seem like it quite fits the way that it's written. You know how that'll work? They'll do a different kind of run, like Jill was saying.
Yeah, so I think our we can look into those details. I mean, our goal is to fill those gaps. So once the board decides on approving that, we can take a look at the various ways to solve that. The main piece for us is to try to figure out ways to give more opportunities so we can cover more routes. As you know, the transportation area has always been a little challenging, especially when you look at COVID and all the things that have happened. But once the board makes this decision, we can be able to look at variation ways of making those shifts and changes.
Yeah, so we'll just get them in place, and then we'll figure it out as we go.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Board colleague Lannis.
Question for superintendent. Are we including bus drivers in the compensation study for the across the board raises?
Yes, Board Member Lannis, as I shared, as we worked throughout this whole year, if everything works out as anticipated, in the new budget, we will be looking at raises across the system.
Okay. Bus drivers, if you're out there, your raise is on the way. Secondly, I wanted to lift something up because something I heard, and I just want to just say this because it's actually inside of the agreement also, is that we're not just using internal employees, we're also using external employees as well. So if there is any concern about us using just CNP employees, that won't be the case. We will have to outsource and get external candidates as well, which I think is very smart because everybody can't have the ability to cook and then also drive a bus. So I think that was a good idea. So thank you.
Board colleague Dyson.
Yes, I just too wanted to remind everyone about the groundwork that we've laid in and making sure that we have prioritized and worked with the superintendent on the comprehensive pay study that we've done. The results of that have been communicated, and that we do intend as a system to be working through next year's budget should include pay raises for all, looking at each category of workers. So I'm glad that we've already done that groundwork, and I hope we see it through fruition with the next board.
Seeing no other requests to speak from the board, Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
Moving forward with item C5, Memorandum of Understanding, External Healthcare Providers. Recommended action, consideration of a request for the approval of an MOU template between the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board and various external healthcare providers to support the recruitment of exceptional student services paraprofessionals to the district. All right, Board President Tapman, and seconded by Board Colleague Ballou. Board Colleague Ballou.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. It's my understanding that the purpose of the MOU is so that we can enter partnerships with home health training facilities. And either Ms. Hall or even General Counsel, if you could just explain the purpose of it and why we're looking at language for the MOU.
Hello, everyone. So yes, it is just for partnership. I'm just trying to stay ahead of the game and try to be as trendy as possible and innovative. The well is dry out there. Like literally no one candidates. And we have to figure out how to get ahead of the competition, right? So this MOU is just, there's no fiscal note to it. It's just an understanding of we would like to be on the receiving end, the first in line to receive candidates or students who are enrolled in home health aid programs to work with the EBR school system as ESS paras, because there's such a deficit in that area for us.
Okay. And General Counsel, and you've looked at the MOU, satisfied it does what we need it to do?
Yes, sir. And just for clarity, the board is actually approving a template to be used with a variety of different organizations. So this is a template which we'll go forward with. I am satisfied with the form.
All right. Well, thank you.
Seeing no other requests to speak from the board. Public comment from Patty Merrick. And then following will be Storm Matthews.
Good evening, Patty Merrick, retired teachers. I'm kind of confused about this because last night there were several calls and reading over what was written. It said students, and you just mentioned that again in the ESS Paris. Now, in the template, I think this really needs to be reviewed because it says students. The students cannot provide anything for this to other students. You know, there's a situation that's already going on in another parish. When you start talking about administering anything to a student, to a teacher, in the information provided for C5, it talks about recovering, or if a teacher or a student or someone pass out, you don't know anything about my health needs. If someone pass out in this room and you're talking about reviving me, what if a person has in their medical records not to revive them? We need to study this because this is a lot of ifs, and question marks about it. And if you're going into a school system and every school does not have a nurse, and it says about the drugs and so forth, and it mentioned in the information, it says students, teachers, staff, and visitors. How do you know what a visitor is on or anything about the staff? You don't have all of the medical cards or so forth that are on them, and you're talking about administering something to them, assuming that you know what drugs and so forth they are. I'm totally confused about that, and I think everything else, and I don't feel comfortable explaining it to anyone without hearing about this beforehand. And I really like to hear more about it before there's a vote taken on that. I really think we need to be on one accord about this and not just giving out information about drugs and how to recover a person from something going on in the school or passing out from it. That's what I would like to know, to be able to pass on to them. And not to treat someone. I have pills in my purse now. How are you going to identify them and know what I'm taking? I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
There is a huge shortage of paras. My own child, who has a child-specific para, we have had a hard time finding a para, getting a para to stay. Paras are not paid very much. It's a very low-paying job, and he is not medically fragile, so there's not a whole lot that goes into him. But this plan to go to a home health care company to gain workers, that is going from one empty pot, because nationwide we have a shortage of educators, of teachers, and paras. But nationwide, we also have a shortage of home health care workers. William has not had a home health care worker since before COVID. The governor is still paying me to be William's worker. Whereas normally it's illegal for somebody who lives in the same house to be the person's worker. So because there is such a shortage of workers, the parents are being paid. They can't provide us any respite, so at least I guess they give us a little bit of money. But there are no home health care workers. So why are you going to go from one empty pot and try to reach into another empty pot to try to fill this empty pot? There's an equal shortage. Also, I understand that you're just approving a template, but that template needs a lot of work because it says that you would pull them directly from the school. Well, like I said, I've been a home health care worker for the last 2 years. There is no such thing as a home health care school. That should not be in your template. The trainings are conference calls. You read a piece of paper and you take an open book quiz. Now, if you get trach training, that is a separate training you go to, like a CPR training that you would go to, you would pay for, and you would go to like at the Y or something like that, and you would take. However, the trainings on toileting or feeding or anything like that, they read you a sheet and then you take a quiz. There is no said training. There is no certification. That does not exist. So that should not be in this template. That is made up. This is from somebody whose child has had a worker for a decade. And I am their worker because there are none in the state. But we do have a shortage of paras, so we do need to keep looking.
Dr. M. Leach.
Somebody raised their hand before I go over my time. I just wanted to address those issues. The template is being presented so that we can move forward and working with other institutions that do provide training for people in the home health industry. There are home health providers in East Baton Rouge Parish. It is not illegal to pay a household member to take care of an ill family member. That's a part of a service that the government provides. The idea is to reach out to people who are being trained in home health care, who will have a better understanding of the needs of students with exceptionalities. They may not be specific to that specific child's need, but the opportunity for training and development will have to be implemented by our ESS department. So that said, I'm asking the board to at least approve the template so that we can move forward and engage with the health agencies and know that anybody in any building in any part of this country or world, oftentimes we're called to the table to assist someone who has fallen out. And we're not home health care workers or certified. Am I making sense? And I still have green time. Oh, I have a lot of time. So it not only provides a opportunity to identify people who can come into the building and work as paraprofessionals, but stretch goals, it's always good to have stretch goals. We want those people to move forward into other areas of education as well. So I ask that you consider at least approving the template so we can continue working with the agencies. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment, back to the board. Uh, my name is in the queue. I don't even necessarily understand why we would need to approve a template. But if we're gonna approve a template, which then inscribes it in policy, then that's going to narrow down what you can do moving forward. And the language really needs to be tight, not rigid, but it needs to be clear if you're gonna get this inscribed in policy. I'm not opposed to what you're saying at all. It's just that we raising the bar by putting the template in the policy. And so if I wouldn't feel comfortable with the current language inscribing it in policy. I just real respectfully would ask, can we get either a friendly amendment to send without recommendation so the language can be tightened up, and then we approve it at the next board meeting? And that, because again, is you raising the bar on what you got to stick with once you put it inside policy. And so is that doable?
Am I the mover?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm fine.
What you think, colleague? Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm sure y'all gonna come up with some good solid language, but I just have concerns for those reasons I stated. Okay. And colleague Ware Jackson.
You covered my concern, Vice President Collins.
And colleague, I'm sorry, Council Shamlin.
I would just ask that I would like some recommendations after the meeting about how to tighten up the language. Just some
Okay.
specifics, if you don't mind. We can discuss that later.
Okay. And then board colleague Howard.
No, I was just gonna ask, could someone tell me what was the issues with the language so that we can make sure that it's actually addressed during the next board meeting?
Absolutely. All right. Seeing no other requests to speak from the board, Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
Moving forward with item C6, transportation software RFP selection, recommended action, consideration of a request for the approval of the recommendation of the committee for the selection of Trip Spark as the provider for bus transportation software, and to authorize the superintendent and general counsel to negotiate and execute a contract. A motion by board colleague Howard. And board colleague Landis. No? Thank you, sirs. All right, and seeing a request to speak from board colleague Dyson.
Yes. I just wanted to make sure that this still keeps us on track for being able to push this on through and get things talking to each other and all of the systems and in place when we design the bus routes for next school year, and that we're on track to do that, to use it by then.
Ms. Spalding?
So the short answer to your question is yes.
Very,
We will be on
very
track with being able to use RFID tracking for the students, increase GPS services, and being able to monitor the students, and a new routing software.
Yes, excellent. Sounds very good. Thank you very much.
Board colleague Gode.
Ms. Spalding, you can stay. I had sent some questions related to this, I guess, when it came up the last time. And I would just like to get a very clear understanding, because we're spending a lot of money and a lot of time and effort on integrated systems to combine payroll, finance, purchasing, HR, and all those things together. So what exactly is this software doing, and what are the interpoints where it what are the points where it interfaces with that overall general software?
So I will call my colleague, Chief Amy Jones, our
Okay.
Chief of Technology, to answer
Thank
your
you.
question.
I just want to make sure that as we buy systems, we don't create an isolated silo, that we're going to integrated systems, and I want to make sure we keep integration in the front.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Gode and Ms. Scott Spalding. Yes, we have very much studied the interaction and the integration that this technology for transportation will have with the current ERP system that we have in place that is in migration process right now. And while it is a more robust transportation system and will offer a lot of features that the module that we did not go with in our current ERP system.
When you say current, you mean new or?
Our new.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
okay.
Our new, the one we're migrating to, will be able to absolutely talk and import, export all of the data that they need from our student information system, as well as our ERP system. But it is a more robust transportation system, so it will fulfill all of those needs.
Great. I have no issue with I just wanted to make sure the integration points were well thought out, and that they can talk to each other, because, you think about why would we worry about this? But if you're doing transportation software and you got bus drivers who are clocking in and out, that goes to payroll, that goes to finance, it goes to all of those things. So I just wanted to make sure that all those things were linked up. So thank you very much for confirming that for me. Thank you.
Board colleague Baloo.
Thank you. I don't have a question, but prior to the board meeting, just to ask if you would provide to the board members the criteria that the selection committee used in their scoring and their selection. It may answer some of the questions, like Mr. Gode said, how we were scoring each applicant. Thank you.
And board colleague Ware Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Yeah, I had asked some questions around that, and the board secretary did a pretty good job in clarifying that there were 2 rounds, right? And that's why some of them had a bigger gap in the scores. It would have been more clear to see a little bit more in the backup about that, but I get why we had 2 that had a lot higher scores than the others. And also, I wanted to ask you about, I know we've had conversations in the past about, this this long-awaited dream of shorter bus routes, and and somehow someday doing later start times for our dear children whose body clocks do not fit with our schedules. And I'm hoping that that this software will help us get closer to that goal. What are your comments around that? How do you see this working towards shortening bus routes and doing some of those dream things that our families are looking for?
So I'll tell you, the district is still reviewing the opportunities to reduce or delay the start time of high school. I'm not sure that elementary school will have an opportunity to manipulate that, but how the software will help is bringing efficiencies to the route. We'll be able to look at the sites, look at the students attending the sites, have more direct routes and more efficient routes. We'll be able to track the students who are riding the buses and be able to manage our ridership in more detail.
Because I know we have lots of families who have been asking for some shorter routes so that they can avoid having to go all the way to that that transportation stop across town where you switch up and everything. So I'm hoping that this will move us closer to that.
Our transportation team has continued to reduce those elementary transfer routes. I think we were well over 60 in the previous years, and we're under 30 now. And the goal is to remove elementary transfer, to have more direct routes to elementary schools. But we are working through looking at the routes and managing our assets, our school buses, and managing our staff to be able to accommodate.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Seeing no other requests to speak from the board. Public comment, we have Sister Coranda Corley.
Okay, they go hear you. Good afternoon. I apologize for being late. I wanted to be here a little earlier to speak on the one dealing with medical, but I could tie that all into this one. So, with this transportation software, I am actually in support of it. Surprising, right? Why? Because we actually need to know where these buses are, where they stopping at, when they miss our children, when they don't pick up our children, if they bypass our children, etc., especially for our children that are nonverbal. These things are extremely important. It's important, though, that we also have this software in other entities in our school system that actually make sure that there's not a strain or stress on parents. I know that it was very important that parents knew where their children were when their children were left at transfer, and we did not have any information on where the buses are. I remember times when I used to call and they did not have any idea that the buses never moved from any particular location. Seeing this actual program in action has been a beautiful blessing. I've had the opportunity, thanks to the former head of transportation, Mr. Bell, and the current head, Mr. Moore, to allow me the opportunity to actually be able to see it in live and living color. And it is a wonderful thing to actually be able to see that the bus actually stopped at a particular location at exactly what time, and if it did not go there at that particular time. Because it definitely allowed the parents to know that, hey, although our cards say put the child out there 15 minutes ahead of time that they're scheduled to pick them up, it allowed us to see that they needed to be out there 30 minutes ahead of time because the buses was coming a lot earlier than the 15 minutes that was requested. Some of them were coming a little later, but it does afford you the opportunity to see the exact time and the exact connotation. Also, as it relates to the medical. The medical, I think, actually
Sister
needs
Coranda,
to...
is
I'm
that
tying
got
this
to do that
directly
with
into
transportation?
this. Yes, ma'am. I promise you. Give my 10 seconds back. Give my 15 seconds.
Transportation as it relates to this software contract.
I promise.
Software
I'm
contract.
tying it in.
Okay.
Okay. As it relates to medical, we actually need the same type of software so that we can actually know if we have medically fragile individuals in the school system. It could help us with knowing where they are, and it could also help us with actually being able to communicate with EMS and other medical entities to be able to reach those individuals that may need medical care. This program was actually able to do a lot of things and actually help us in a lot of other departments. That's how I'm tying this in. It's not something that should just be used for transportation. Right now, you have our students, oh, I'm sorry, get my 15 seconds back now. You do have things where they actually request parents of individuals with disabilities to have to do things where this program
Thank
would
you,
actually
Sister
be beneficial.
Karonda Corley.
Thank you. See, it's not often y'all give me to say I'm supporting something, so y'all should have gave me courtesy.
Thank you. Seeing no other requests to speak, and Sister Corley, item 7 was removed. So, oh, okay, she had it, okay. She wasn't here earlier to know. All righty, and seeing no other public comment, back to the board. Seeing no other board requests to speak, Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
Moving forward with item C8. Seymour selection at the Broadmoor Middle School site. Recommended action. Consideration of a request for the approval of the recommendation of the Seymour Selection Committee of Lemoyne Luster Group to provide construction management services for the Broadmoor Middle site. For the Broadmoor Conservatory. Can I get a motion? Board colleague Ballou and board colleague Gode. Seeing no request to speak from the board and seeing no public comment, and back to the board, seeing no request to speak from the board, Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Please vote. Okay, now please vote. The motion carries.
And moving forward with item C9. RFQ for architectural design consulting services for the Baton Rouge Center for Visual and Performing Arts. Recommended action, consideration of a request to authorize staff to issue a request for qualifications to provide architectural design consulting services for Baton Rouge Center for Visual and Performing Arts Elementary School. Can I get a motion? Board colleague Gode, board colleague Ware Jackson, is who else? That's in you? Oh, I'm sorry, Dyson. Okay. And board colleague Lannis.
Yes, thank you, Madam Vice President. Sorry. I had a question surrounding the internal design of the school. I know a few months ago you had some concerns around the pre-K to 8 model as it regarded this particular school because we had something similar that took place with Forest Heights. So I wanted to get some clarity on that if we could. Is there anybody here that could speak towards the redesign of Baton Rouge Visual and Performing Arts?
Ms. Anderson from CSRS is here.
So just so you know, Ms. Anderson, before you come up here, by the way, you look nice. But before you come up here, it's less architectural and more about the internal design of the school, makeup of the school. I guess the question that I'm asking, let me clarify. The question that I'm asking is this going, by redesigning and making it a combination school, is Baton Rouge Visual and Performing Arts going to be a designated magnet school, or is it going to be a portfolio magnet school, much like Forest Heights? That's the question.
I just want to make sure we're clear on your question, Board Member Lyons. So you want to know with the additions for BRCVPA, will the school change its type? Is that what I hear you saying?
Yes.
Yeah, so no, there's no change in the type of the school. It's just addition.
Okay. I just wanted to lift that up again. That was a serious concern.
Mhm.
And I'm going to bring this up as another question moving forward. So I just want to let that be known.
What's the concern? I'm sorry.
The question was the type, will the configuration change, whether the school type will be, I guess, a magnet or non-magnet? Is that the question? Yeah, so the addition will not change. Our plan was that the addition would not change it being a magnet school. Our goal was to create more magnet seats in that model because it was the based on the Reimagine grant. The grant wanted in order to win the grant, you had to create the model where it had the most requests for students. And so that was the agreement with the grant with the state.
Okay. No, that's a different circumstance then. Okay.
Yes.
That makes more sense. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Board colleague Ware Jackson.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear that this is for what was voted for in the tax plan for the new Baton Rouge Center for Visual and Performing Arts. So when we vote about this today, we're voting on what is in the tax plan, what the taxpayers requested, and what was decided some time ago. Now that whole Reimagine grant sort of throws a wrench in some of this because, you know, we would be approving today the original school, you know, as Baton Rouge Center for Visual and Performing Arts stands, just a new building. We're not looking at changing programming or anything else. That would need to be a vote of the board and definitely communications with the community around that, which also brings to mind that we need to have some community interaction around this whole Reimagine concept and how, if it takes place, if we end up looking to change the configuration from a K-5 to K-8, how it would affect other schools that also serve in the same area. And so just to be clear, you know, this is for the original plan that's in the tax plan. Now, how this whole Reimagine thing actually affects this would be something that would come down the line if the board and the community would decide that they want to change the plan for Baton Rouge Center or for any of the other schools that they're reimagining.
So just an update with the Reimagine grant, LDOE approved expanding seats with the current grade configuration. So there will be no grade configuration change for the site.
Oh, wonderful. Because the whole thing was about people really wanting more seats with the same grade configuration.
Correct.
And when this first came up, I was talking about why not go wide instead of going higher, because that's where the demand is right now. So that's a huge relief. I'm glad to hear that. I hadn't heard that they're not looking to basically, because man, that really threw a wrench in a lot of things. And I don't know about other board members, but I was getting bombarded, you know, from a lot of schools around this issue, and you know, and just plain dissatisfaction in, you know, not involving more community interaction in this whole decision. So I'm relieved, and I'm sure a lot of other people would be glad to hear this as well. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Seeing no other requests to speak from the board, public comment from Sister Karonda Corley.
Okay. So as we talk about architectural design, and I just want to bring up that Baton Rouge Center for Visual and Performing Arts actually have children with disabilities that attend that school. And for many, many years, that school has not been in ADA compliance as it relates for individuals with disabilities trying to matriculate through that building. You have a lot of kids with disabilities that have hurt themselves trying to go from a classroom to a bathroom. And those kids then, because they could not safely go from the classroom to the bathroom, from the bathroom to the cafeteria, etc., those kids had to transfer to other schools. That's a problem. That's a problem when our motto say every student every day, that is so nicely covered up with garland, that could have been that money that could have been used towards making these buildings in more ADA compliance. So when we talk about architectural design, I am so happy that board member Lane has brought that up, because I know how to do that design. And I can tell you from looking at a lot of the buildings throughout our school system, I know our ADA department probably is going through and making reports. I hope they are. We definitely need to look at a lot of these buildings, the majority, because they're not in compliance. The architectural design was not done with ADA at the forefront. I can talk about our C-Tech building, not in ADA compliance, Broadmoor Elementary, not in ADA compliance. And we don't even put staff over there, nurses, for those children that live right there to be able to go there. They have to go to other schools far away. These are problems when you talk about how we're going to implement and utilize IDEA funding and any other funding that comes from that general budget. The Title I money also includes ADA money. And so when we talk about this architectural design and what it's going to look like, we have to make sure that people like this little child right here, Corinth, a self-advocate, a person with multiple disabilities, including rare disorder, have to be able to matriculate safely. Children with flight risk not taken into consideration by the design. So we actually have to make sure that every single disability is taken into consideration when we design a building. Individuals that are blind, visually impaired, those that are in motorized wheelchairs or using walkers, whether it's a 2-point walker or a 4-point walker, deaf and hard of hearing, etc., have to be at the forefront. If they not, go back to the drawing board. Thank you.
Thank you. And seeing no other public comment, board colleague Ware Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. One more question around the timelines. If we're this Reimagine grant, what's the timeline on that as compared to what we're looking at with the timeline for the construction of this new facility?
We don't have that information right here for you, Board Member Jackson. We can get that information for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Excuse me. All right, seeing no other requests to speak from the board, Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
And now moving forward with item C10, request for qualifications regarding energy management services. Recommended action: consideration of a request authorizing staff to issue a request for qualifications to seek proposals to provide energy management consulting services. Can I get a motion? Board colleague Ballou and board colleague Gode. Seeing a request to, well, let me ask this. My colleagues don't have a question at the moment, but who's currently dealing with our energy management, or is no one doing it? Or thank you.
Ms. Scott Spalding?
So currently, we do not have a contract for energy management services. Once the Aramark contract ended June 30th, we no longer have contracted services. We do have some internal staff members that are working through some processes to manage reviewing the utility bills, applying for grants to be able to support some of the repairs that we need to update lighting in our facilities. But we need engineers on board to be able to manage
Be
our
effective
projects.
on it. Any idea on the approximate cost? Like, are you able to deduce what the approximate cost for the energy management services from Aramark was, and perhaps ballpark what's a reasonable? I'm just curious.
That's fine. So don't quote me. I'm not looking at the numbers, but it was well over $500,000 for previous services.
Okay.
We're looking to work with energy management companies to minimize those costs, doing some assessments, some minimal opportunities to reduce costs with lighting and solar repairs, potentially window repairs, door
Okay.
repairs, ceilings, or what have you. And those costs should be able to fund additional work that needs to happen.
Okay, very good. I think it's definitely needed. Board colleague Ware Jackson, thank you.
So this piece was a part of the former contract, but somehow it wasn't inside any of the other, inside of the request for proposals when we did the contract with HES and all the others that applied.
So it was not part of the RFP for the proposal, but Aramark was contracted through, I think, 2017 to provide that service, and then it was a month-to-month billing. It wasn't part of the last RFP with Aramark. EBR school system just continued receiving that service and paying month to month.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Seeing no other requests from the board, thank you very much. We have no comment cards on item C10. Back to the board. No comments, or excuse me, request to speak from the board. Madam Secretary, please call a vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
Now moving forward with item C11, professional services contracts, federal. Recommended action, consideration of a request for the approval of a professional services contract between EBR School Board and the following. A, Lexia Learning Systems LLC in the amount of $318,260 to provide professional development to improve literacy development. B, City Year in the amount of City Year, in the amount of $115,000 to provide instructional support. C, SPED Strategies in the amount of $27,000 to provide exceptional student services, professional development. And D, Associated Professional Educators of Louisiana in the amount of $48,000 to provide mentor training and certification. Can I get a motion? Board colleague Howard and board colleague Lannis. Seeing no request to speak from the board, seeing no public comment cards on this item, back to the board. Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Please vote. Ms. Dyson. Ms. Dyson? The motion carries.
And now moving forward with item C12, Professional Services Contract General Fund. Recommended action, consideration of a request for the approval of a professional services contract between EBR Parish School Board and the Manship Theater in the amount of $41,206 to provide tickets and fees associated with various touring productions. And can I get a motion? Board colleague Gode. Oh, Len. Okay, and board colleague Dyson. Board colleague Lannis.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Is it possible to get some information on this particular item?
Is Dr. Bethel, could you please come on?
And I only ask because it doesn't spell so much out what it's going to provide. It just says tickets and fees associated with various touring productions.
Okay, so it's like braiding of programs with our literacy department, but we have our manship representatives here, Ms. Covion. I would ask that they come forward and they can explain everything to you.
Thank you.
And while they come up, if I could just frame for Board Member Lannis, as you know, we have been working with the Manship Theater on providing children with opportunities, and when they read certain plays and books and those things that will improve literacy, they can actually go see the play at the Manship Theater.
Okay.
Our goal has been to try to expand our partnership with the Manship Theater to make sure that all schools can do that, and we're kind of excited where we are so far. I know we've been gradually piloting that as we continue to increase that partnership, but I can let them speak for themselves.
And look, before you all go, I'm just going to say shame on me because I'm reading over the agreement and it literally is spelled out inside of the agreement. So that's my fault. So I apologize.
But I'm sure they're excited to.
No, we're happy to be here. Thank you so much for having us. We're really excited about this pilot program and what it can bring for the future, and that we can complement each other. Of course, we are all about education and all about the arts, and so we want to help enhance and work with the schools on literacy and incorporating the arts in that curriculum. So, and this is Joelle Castile. She's our educational coordinator, and we're working closely with Dr. Narcisse.
Well, there were a couple things I wanted to bring to your attention, but we did have a copy of the EBR literacy blueprint, and one of the goals in there is to create a shared vision of literacy that connects community partners like us through community resources, which we are. And one of the interesting things that we do, and it was mentioned in the opening statement, is that we provide students opportunities to see professional touring companies that perform literature to students. And so I think we are all probably very much aware that not only is that great for a diversified learner to see that kind of come to life. So if someone's struggling with reading, to see that is really kind of motivating and can captivate them. But studies show that students that participate in performing arts do have an increased improvement in comprehension and in reading. And so it seems like just a perfect partnership of what you guys' goal is and then what we can provide, which is also our goal in education, is to provide that kind of outreach. So it just seemed like a seamless partnership. Yeah, it's great.
Board colleague Ware Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. You know, I'm a lover of the arts, so at first looking at this is very exciting. And I'm wondering though, because I also respect math. And the numbers, I was looking at the numbers, and let me try to pull up what I had. I'm wondering how many students we're looking at servicing. I think it's like 6 events total, right? At a total of around 42,000. And so how how many students are we looking to service, and which schools are we looking at? I don't know if this is and if you need to answer this, or if this comes from Dr. Narcisse and your team.
Well, I know we can answer it with the performances. So we can hold 325 per show, basically. So one of the productions, we have 2 shows, so that's 2 at 325, and then the other one is 4 shows. So we would have 4 at 325.
At 325. Okay, so that's somewhere around 1,800 students. Pardon? 1950? Okay, 1950. So it's somewhere, what, $12, $13 a ticket?
Correct. I think we went with $12 a ticket.
So, so that's somewhere over 23,000. So then there's some other fees in there. Around, if I remember right, the where they actually the hotel. What is it around the performance
Well,
fees? Are we doing extra shows,
correct.
particularly for these children?
Correct. So they are already here at the Manship Theater, and they're doing a public show, and then the next day they're doing 2 shows, and then they're staying for additional shows specifically for this partnership for the EBR schools. So they're having to stay another night. They're and there's the artist fee increases, other expenses increase, staffing, technical staffing, as well as equipment, all of that. Security, janitorial. All that
Okay.
surrounded with the performances.
I see. Okay. Now, the other concern I have has nothing to do with you guys. I'd be happy to see this take place with with some good numbers there. But my concern is that it's coming out of general fund, and I'm wondering where the foundation comes in around this. Could the foundation perhaps do some fundraising to cover this rather than coming out of general fund, looking at what deficits we might have and all, and and these costs? I know this isn't a huge cost, but it's around the same price as a drama teacher to do this. So this looks like something that would be great to have funded through the foundation fundraising, or some grants. Have we looked at doing something like that rather than coming out of general fund on this?
Board Member Jackson, we did not look into foundation for this because the way that we thought about it was our goal has been to, as you saw in our literacy goal, to be able to work with our various community assets as we're giving kids real life experiences with reading and at the play. And so it was a part of our work that we're doing with curriculum and all those components. And so we don't see it as a standalone. We see it as a part of our overall strategy on the literacy blueprint, on bringing in community assets into helping us educate our children across the system. So that's the reason why we didn't look at it that way. When you look at the total cost that a person pays to actually go to the actual theater, it's a lot more than what children are being given afforded the opportunity to do that. One of the charges we had based on the board approving us on this blueprint was to make sure we can continue to work with our community to be able to engage in that work. And so this has been just one of many various ways of doing that. So we did not look at foundation or anything. We actually believe that this is kind of the best way that children are able to get education by bringing our community assets and coordinating in that way.
And does it include transportation?
Yes, it does. And Dr. Bethel, you want to respond to some?
We're in the process of applying for some additional funds through our competitive super app, and we will be able to help with this initiative. But yes, it also does involve transportation will be provided. And I do have a list of schools. I did not include it in this packet, but I will give that to Dr. Narcisse to share with you.
And
Can you put it in the backup, please? Would you please?
And
the
then that's
backup?
your time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. And seeing no other, we went to the public. All right. So seeing no other requests to speak from the board. Oh, we didn't. Thank you. So any public comments from Storm Matthews?
As an ELA teacher, probably one of my favorite standards is to teach a novel and then to show the movie or the play and then compare and contrast the historical text of it. So I absolutely love this idea. I want to go see Warriors Don't Cry, just so you know. I do support this. I do just want to say that on the memorandum, it was dated before the news of Dr. Lashley's departure. So it states that she's going to oversee the contract. So that does need to be rectified. But like I said, it's dated before that announcement was made. So that needs to be rectified. But other than that, I absolutely support it. And it's exciting. And I want to go. So just say one of them 325 for me, please. Thank you.
Seeing no other public comment, back to the board. Seeing no other requests to speak. Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
Now moving forward with item C13, contract renewal. City of Baton Rouge Adult Education at EBR Prison. The recommended action is a consideration of a request for the approval to renew a contract between the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board and the City of Baton Rouge in the amount of $134,110 to allow the East Baton Rouge Parish School System Department of Adult and Continuing Education to continue providing adult education classes and high-set testing for inmates at the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison from January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. And I have a motion from Board Colleague Ware Jackson. Can I get a second? Board Colleague Howard. Seeing no request to speak from the board. Seeing no, Board Colleague Lannis.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I'll just be real quick. I just wanted to lift this up and say that I love every time that this particular item rolls around because that segment of our students, the population of our students are often forgotten about. And when we forget about them, they forget about us. And that causes a lot of division across our community and it results in a life that they are a trajectory in life that they shouldn't go on. So I think that this helps to put them back where they need to be. It shows that we care about their education and we care about what they do once they are reinserted back inside of society and for a second chance. So I just wanted to say thank you and kudos to our team for putting this together.
Thank you, Board Colleague Lannis. Seeing no public comment. And back to the board. Seeing no additional requests to speak from the board, Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
Now moving forward with item C14, policy JGCDA, recommended action, consideration of a request for the approval of school board policy JCDA, Narcan policy. Can I get a motion? Board colleague Lannis and board colleague Ballou. Seeing no request to speak from the board, seeing no comment cards from the public, and back to the board. Seeing no request to speak from the board, Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Please vote. Ms. Dyson. The motion carries.
All right. And now moving forward with item C15, litigation. Recommended action, consideration of a request for the approval of the recommendation from Gwen Shamlin, General Counsel of East Baton Rouge Parish School Board, in the matter of Rainisha Sims versus East Baton Rouge Parish School Board and Tracy Martin, docket number 679-822 in the 19th JDC EBR Parish Schools, EBR Parish, Louisiana, and to provide for related matters. Board Counsel Gold, Board Colleague Goday, and seconded by Board Colleague Ballou. Board Colleague Lannis.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I don't really want to speak on this item. I just want to say you're going to beat President Tapman's record tonight for getting us out of here on time. So you hold a new record.
Thank you. I accept. And Board Colleague Ware Jackson.
Yeah, great. Not particularly about this case, but around litigation. I'd asked. I had met with the superintendent earlier this week and just asking for at the next board meeting a report on the budget around litigation. I'd like to see what we've been spending like over the last, let's say, 3 to 5 years, and where we are, whether we're going above, below, in particular for this year. We've seen a lot going on this year, and lots of threats of litigation. And I'd also like to see, speaking of threats of litigation, we had put forward a resolution that failed a couple of months ago around something where we had lots of threats and around, being sued for possible civil rights violations, and there was an investigation being done around that. So I would like to see a report of how that investigation has run and what has come out of that as well. Could we see that at the board meeting, the December board meeting, please? Thank you.
All right, and seeing no other requests to speak from the board, going to the public, Sister Karanda Corley. She did a little extra scribbling. I had to make sure I was seeing it right.
I wrote it fast because it's my favorite topic every board meeting. I love litigation. Why? Because we would not have to discuss litigation if we just did the correct thing. In the spirit of Christmas, I'm going to be short. Pay the people. That is the easiest thing we can do. Pay the people. We did wrong. Pay them. When we come up here for our payment on our litigation, I'm going to tell y'all the same thing. Pay us. Or we can go in executive session and we can make it real easy and y'all can just write me my check. Because y'all know my check is very much overdue. But litigation is something that we can prevent. And we're not preventing it. And so I just strongly encourage, I know that our superintendent have quite a few committees that don't really meet that much. We really need one that is specific for children with disabilities besides our Special Education Advisory Council, because our Special Education Advisory Council don't meet as much as it could meet. It only meet 3 times, and that is not benefiting our school system, especially when the Council of Great Schools just told us that we are failing tremendously as it relates to our children with disabilities. You know, we really didn't have to pay them all that money when I've been telling y'all that for free. So I'm telling y'all again, pay the people that this litigation is in relation to, because Miss Renisha Sims should get her money. And if I knew Miss Renisha Sims, I would tell her thank you kindly for bringing in your litigation. I would have helped her write it, and she wouldn't have even had to pay no attorney. Pay her, pay her, pay her. And if she have children, pay extra. If however many children, pay a lot extra. I'm giving y'all back 1 minute and 13 seconds, and I want that back at the next meeting. Have a blessed day.
I was just about to say, what happened to our Christmas present on the tie? Okay. Thank you kindly. And back to the board. Then seeing no request to speak from the board, Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
And moving forward with announcements of meetings, but I'll take a quick moment of special privilege to shamelessly plug the Bel Air Bengals Bingo Night, as reminded by my favorite constituent when Dr. Finney is not here, and also PTA mom at Bel Air, who is sponsoring, the Bel Air PTA is sponsoring Bingo Night at the Cortana Raising Cane's on Florida Boulevard on tomorrow from 5 to 8 p.m. You must mention Bel Air High School to ensure that a portion of the proceeds are directed to our fundraiser. Go Mighty Mighty Bengals. I'm going to fit it in. I'm double booked already tomorrow. I have to go to a gumbo party. Then I have to go to a little birthday cocktail. But I'm going to find a way to get the chicken fingers to support Bel Air High School. Thank you kindly. And moving forward with the announcements, we have regular board meeting is to be held. The very last regular board meeting of this particular board, with these particular board members. I shall hold it near and dear to my heart, as I'm sure all of my colleagues here will. December 15th at 5:00 p.m. And then the next committee of the whole meeting with a whole new board, committee of the whole, January 12th, 2023 at 5:00 p.m. here in the central office boardroom. And adjournment, so moved.